really looking forward to our conversation today with Nabela. We have done a conversation with her before, and she's now pregnant for the second time with her second little girl. And we're going to talk all about her pregnancy this time around, how it differs from pregnancy the first time around, if at all. And also just the mom shaming of it all. I think that is, that seems to be a crazy part of being a mom, and also sharing your experience on social media is just dealing with a lot of unwanted advice about, or just thoughts and criticisms about motherhood and being a mom and raising kids. And Nabela's been really open and honest about her experience with mom shaming. Yes, people do mom shaming. For that person who just asked if mom shaming happens, it does happen. It's a very real thing, and something that I think was really, I was aware of it before becoming a mom, and since becoming a mom and, sharing what I share on social media about motherhood, there's definitely a ton of thoughts, whether you like it or not, about, being a mom and the choices that you make, whether it's what food you give your child, how you choose to raise your child, and getting pregnant again. Hello.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my God,
you.
in your
Hello,
nursery, the
how
most
are
beautiful
you?
place of your house.
I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good.
How are you? How are you
I lead with
feeling?
that. It's definitely different than my last pregnancy in so many ways, but it's still pretty good, I try not to complain. So I'm like, but it's been different for sure. I think everything just feels a lot more
Different in what way?
intense, it also has been not that long ago that I was pregnant. So I think my body was just like, it's just sometimes my aches and pains, and
Right.
I have like developed sciatica through this pregnancy and things like that. So it's been like strenuous on my body, but I've been taking it in stride. I have like the best support team in the world of family and my husband. So they've been like massaging me. I just had a prenatal massage this morning. My doctor was like, get all the prenatal massages possible. So it's been nice, but yeah. How are you?
Yeah, I'm great. I mean, I think also like one of the craziest parts about being pregnant the second time, and I don't know if you felt this way, but I look back at my first pregnancy and I'm like, that was like a spa retreat, like compared to this, because you're also like, and your first daughter is so young. She just turned 1, I know, but like it's so crazy because you're, taking care of them, or, running after them, trying to make sure that they get all the attention that they need. And then, then there's also like all of I had experienced a lot of like mom guilt of not being with her enough, like so you feel it. It's like there's so many, of course it's amazing, and it's such a huge blessing to be pregnant again, and it's such a gift from God, and we all know that you're so grateful and talk so much about it. And there are some differences with just like the experience of time management, of how you're feeling, the relax, like it made me look at my first pregnancy and my first postpartum experience, and I was like,
everything was like
that was
the
nice.
unknown in the first pregnancy. Now this pregnancy, I have a baby in my arms, and I am like, okay, I'm going to do this all over again. But it's so interesting. You know what you're not going to take with you. You know what you are going to take with you. You know what, like, you are going to apply this time around versus the last time around. Mm-hmm. But I think the mom guilt and the emotional toll, I wasn't prepared for. You're right. You have this baby in front of you while you're holding and carrying and giving life to another baby. And I think that juggle, it was something that I was not mentally and emotionally prepared for. But again, like, thank God for family and loved ones to just cover me in so much support at this time, because it's been so interesting, so different.
How are you balancing that kind of feeling of mom guilt that you didn't have your first pregnancy? Mm-hmm. And of course, like there's always some level of mom guilt, whether it's with work or having another baby, or just like needing to take a minute and rest, especially when you're pregnant. Like, how are you
I've
balancing
been asking
that
my mom every
and,
single day.
you
I'm
know,
like,
being present
how
in the
did you have more than
pregnancy?
one? How did your heart have space for like love for more than one? She's like, oh, Nabela, when the baby comes, you just your heart expands, and you hear that all the time. But I'm just like, how? Just how? I look at Amalia every day, and I'm like, this new baby. Do they even? I don't know. Like, I don't even know how to explain how different it is in my brain to process that another human is coming. And then I feel bad. I'm like, did I give Amalia enough time? Did I give her me? You know, and then I also feel a wave of gratitude because I
Right?
hear people tell me that when you have them closer together, that the concepts of like jealousy and these sorts of things, they're kind of mitigated much quicker because they're young, you know, rather than like introducing later, they can feel like more sense of jealousy
Mm-hmm.
and stuff. But because Amalia is so young, I almost spilled my baby's name. My next baby will be all that she ever knew. So, I mean, that's kind of exciting. But I think the way that I navigated is through I asked my mom a lot of questions. She has 6 kids and she's one of 12. So, the idea of like juggling life and children is really my
Wow.
mother's like sauce of life. She knows it better than anybody. I think the other thing for me has been managing work, motherhood, and pregnancy. Those are 3 different categories. And trying to make sure I fill all of those cups has been something that I've
Right.
been praying a lot about because I'm just like, I can't let one go unwatered, right? Like one garden can't go unwatered. So I have to just continue to every day make sure I'm doing
Mm-hmm.
something that makes me feel as if I'm tending to all of those different gardens of my life. Um, and being a wife, right? That can't get lost in the process of being a mother. So I'm like, okay, that's totally separate, right? So there's being a wife, then being a mother, then being pregnant, and then being, you know, an entrepreneur and having a career. And navigating all of that has been a lot of prayer, a lot of journaling, a lot of planning. I've become a much better planner, and trying to give myself grace. You know, it's tough to do, and when you're so present online, people won't give you an opportunity to give yourself grace. So I try to like remember who I know
Right.
myself
True.
to be, who God knows me to be, who my family knows me to be, and who my children know, like will know me to be. And so trying to focus on that, and just know that I'm doing my best every day. If I know that I'm doing my best, like, you know what I mean? At what point am I just beating myself up? I have to just know that I tried every day.
Yeah, for sure. I think that so many moms and just like even people in general can relate to this idea of having so many different parts or roles in your life that you want to focus on and that you want to be your best at, but also, you know, sometimes at the end of the day saying like, oh, I didn't do this enough, or I didn't focus on this part of my, you know, this role specifically enough. I didn't do, you know, X, Y, and Z. And, you know, sitting and like beating yourself up about it or criticizing yourself. How do you switch that
Yes.
around? Because you're always really open and
Thank
amazing
you.
about the pockets of peace and focusing on the positive, which I love. And honestly, you did a pockets of peace video the other day that like totally changed my day around, not only because your home is so beautiful and your family's so beautiful, but also just like what you were saying in the video of, you know, focusing
Mhm.
on specific certain moments that might be or feel like small moments when they're actually happening, but at the end of the day, reflecting on them and focusing on them and actually really enjoying them, which I think is such
Oh,
a, I don't feel like people do that enough. So I greatly appreciate all of your pockets of peace moments. But how do you kind of stay in
I
that,
think it all
you know,
boils down
feeling of
to
being
positive
grateful for
psychology,
those
right? You know, in
moments?
college, one of the things that I was so inspired by was this concept of positive psychology and this idea that what we think about magnifies, right? What we focus on becomes larger and larger and larger. So if we think
Mm-hmm.
positively, then we see more positive around us. And it also goes on the idea of abundance versus lack, right? And living under this feeling of sheer abundance and gratitude and gratefulness to God is like kind of how I just want to operate my day to day. And I think if we look for the things that are going wrong, the list will never end. So on the flip side, if we look for the things that are going right, the list may never end. And it's something I encourage people to do. I started journaling about, gosh, 5 years ago, I think. I did a gratitude journal, and I still have it, and it's on my Google Docs because how portable is that? And I restart a new one every year without fail, and it doesn't have to be something that is so strenuous and like tedious to do. It can be just jotting down bullet points some days. Other days you might have like a full paragraph to write. Other days it might feel like a whole diary entry. But what I've found is when I focus on practicing gratitude and being grateful for things, whether it's something as small as what I ate that day, or a Starbucks drive that I did with my husband, or, you know, getting to talk to my mom a little bit longer, whatever it might be, it really helps reframe my mind and allow me to focus on what's good. And then suddenly I see goodness everywhere. And so that is what inspired Pockets of Peace really truly was. It was in the middle of quarantine. Not in the middle, the beginning of quarantine. So we're all scared. And what are we doing? Like we're scared. We're thinking about what could go wrong.
Right.
So I just started documenting the things that went right. You know, I think how often are we encouraged to focus on what's going right? Who's doing, you know, who's there for us, like all of those things. So I really wanted to do that. That's how Pockets of Peace started. Now it's changed my life. Now the way that I operate my life is, okay, I can tell you all the things going wrong right now, or I could tell you all the things that are going right. And I can tell you the ways that, you know, I have felt supported and loved rather than unloved or this and that. And it's helped change my perspective and change how I live in this world and how I present myself in this world. And I want to encourage that to my daughters too. You have two choices. Every day you have a choice. You know, it's really like, do I choose to consume what's happening to me in a way where nothing's ever enough? Or, wow, I can't believe that just happened to me, right? So that's kind of really what Pockets of Peace has done for me in my life. And it's inspired other people to really appreciate those small things, because everyone doesn't need to go to like Fiji to have a really romantic life. You know, and I think what I have done is like I make the most mundane things in my life feel like they're super romantic and special. Just making a mason jar drink, or, you know, making dinner. I think it's so fun to romanticize your life and really just celebrate it as if every day is a special occasion. I don't wait to wear anything anymore. And I do that for my daughter too. I buy her cute clothes. And even if we have no plans, I'm like, you're going to wear this because like today is a celebration. And also you grow so fast. So it's just like, I think that's just my approach to life. And it's really, really helpful.
It's true.
Especially in this journey of pregnancy the second time around, because postpartum depression and anxiety consumed my first postpartum experience, and then I delved into being pregnant again. So I was still navigating those feelings while being pregnant again. And so if it wasn't for finding my Pockets of Peace, focusing on the little things that went right and the little moments of goodness in each day, I don't know where I'd be, to be honest. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think I think it's so beautiful that you share all of that, and also just like, you know, focus on the positive in your life, because it's true. It's like, you know, you focus on negative things. It's like, you know, you really bring all of that to life and you focus on the positive. It really changes your day and also just your overall mindset. You're always so positive on your Instagram, and obviously your Instagram is beautiful and you share so much of your life. And one of the reasons that I always want to talk to you, but also one of the reasons that I thought was so great to jump on here before you have your baby was just because you had posted having all of these conversations and a lot of kind of unwanted and unsolicited mom shaming and, you know, pregnancy journey shaming and having two kids so close together, having two girls, a lot of the kind of shaming and also like unwanted, not advice, but just like criticisms about being pregnant and, you know, just like the way that you choose to live your life was really interesting for me to see you experiencing that. I remember experiencing that when people would come up to me and be like, oh, I didn't know I was having another girl, but like, oh, you're having them so close together, or, you know, like just like unwanted advice. And then, you know, you've also been open just about like the mom shaming, the body shaming, the pregnancy shaming, like all of it. So I want to talk a little bit about that, because I think that that's such a real and also unfortunate part of social media. There's so many amazing parts of it, and you do such a great job spreading such positivity. And this
I
is like a
think
very real part
I
of
want to
your
always
journey.
stress to people, pockets of peace doesn't promote the idea of toxic positivity, but rather really encouraging positive psychology, but rather encouraging grateful living, right? But it doesn't mean that I live in a bubble where bad things don't happen or people aren't being mean or I don't have bad days. And so I do like to oftentimes reel people in and just be like, these are some of the things that I get on a day-to-day basis. Yet I still choose pockets of peace, right? I still choose myself every day. Here are some of the comments I get, yet I still choose joy. Here are some of the things that I experience, and I still choose myself and my mental health. And I think when it comes to mom shaming, which I was not prepared for, I was not ready. Because when I was pregnant, the community online was very supportive. So like moms were super, super supportive. The first time that I was pregnant, I was like, just, it felt like this really delicious sisterhood. Then the baby came. And I was
Excited.
like, my
Yeah.
sisters turned into, like my critics. And I was like, I really had to process and sit back and think about, how I'm going to let these words affect me. I think what it boiled down to was me understanding it's really tough to receive messages that seem to be concerned for my child, or like, they want to be advocating for X, Y, and Z while berating me, right? So I don't know how you could claim to care about kids or my kid, etc., while bullying and harassing me as I'm carrying life, as I'm being a mother. So, because we all know that a happy mom is what kids need. The kids need, for happy children and for children to thrive, they need happy parents. It helps scientifically. It just helps to have parents that are happy and that are well mentally, right? So, how are you advocating truly for my child if you are simultaneously berating me? And then I am then going to now go hold my child with tears in my eyes and feeling insufficient and inadequate because of the words that you choose. So I had to start to process, like, where's the logic here? Does that make sense? Is this message for me, or is this message, does it have anything to do with me, right? At the end of the day. And once I started to realize that, like, logically it didn't make any sense. There's no way you can tell me you care while berating me online. It just doesn't make any sense. So once that I was able to really separate the logic and all of those things, I was able to understand that a lot of the times it has nothing to do with me. This is just someone either projecting, or even if they do firmly stand firm in their beliefs of whatever they're saying and whatever they're talking about, it ultimately could be delivered in a kinder way. And if it's not my business. It's not there for me, And I had to get to a place where no one can tell me who I am. Like, I have to understand that I tell myself who I am, and God knows who I am. If I can hold those two things firm in my heart, everything else is just noise. Something else that someone said that really helped me, I don't remember who, but it was some podcast, and it said, if you want to be, in this public space or in general in life, you can't let the critics dictate your view of yourself, but you also can't let the praise dictate the view of yourself. That was a tough pill to swallow. I'm like, well, listen, if you have something nice to say, tell me. Now I'm realizing that neither can make my confidence waver, right? Because then I'll be living at the mercy of, like, their opinions and their thoughts of me and other people's thoughts of me, whether it's in a school and it's a PTO mom, or whether it's online and its mother is telling me that I'm doing this wrong or that wrong. I have to know myself fully and not let the praise or the criticism or the hatred or the vitriol or the bullying sway me either way. And so that kind of became like my goal, is just become a fortress of truth within yourself. But it's not easy. I mean, these comments sometimes like I'll cry to my husband, and he's like, babe, this is not reality. You know what I mean? He's like, reality is what you believe, what you know yourself to be. But sometimes it feels like really real. All these comments coming at you, telling you who you are, telling you what you're doing wrong, kind of stands in the way of being able to give yourself grace. But I take it day by day. I'm not perfect. I'm figuring it out. We're all figuring it out. And I think that that's super important to remember. how do you deal with it? I mean, you
Right.
have experienced it yourself. I need some tips.
I mean, I feel like, again, like I'm still learning it for sure. I too was very surprised by, I think we always like, you know, when I was pregnant also, it was like, I always heard of the mom shaming online. And I felt, especially being pregnant during COVID, where we were so isolated, I felt the kind of mom community. I was like, oh, this is going to be
Yeah.
really great and very helpful, like to be able to have people to like ask questions to and talk to. And you know, it's of course where these kinds of conversations for BDA Baby came from, but it was really surprising to me how opinionated people were about simple things, from like a cup that you show in a video that just like happens to be in the background that's the wrong cup to be giving your child, like very little things. And again, I think that social media has great aspects to it. And then of course having those parts of it that we look at our parents and we're like, you know, I almost like envy the time that they raised us, because they didn't have to, you know, have so many thoughts and opinions. It was kind of like you could get the thoughts and opinions of your mom friends or your family members, which already sometimes aren't necessarily exactly how you choose to raise your kid, but you can kind of manage, you know, a handful. But then having a bunch of people being critical or telling you, you know, again, because as you mentioned, it's all in the delivery of how you say something. If somebody says, you know, like, oh, this might be a good thing, gently suggest it to you. And, you know, the bottom line is like, I've been
Yeah.
a mother for 2.5 years. You've been a mom for a year. So we are still learning, you know, all the different things of motherhood, and having
Yeah.
suggestions told to us in a really gentle and kind way is a great thing. That's like what this community is for. But saying it in a really like attacking or negative way is always like so off-putting to
Yeah.
me. And again, I think it, you know, having a good support system is so important. And you
Yeah.
and I are both really lucky. We come from big families and really loving and supportive families, and not everybody has that. But it's, you know, I think you being transparent and, you know, having these kinds of conversations about like, there are days where like, you know, you cry or you feel like I know like for me, my way of always dealing with negative comments or just like
Yeah.
things that I think might be mean. I have like a couple girlfriends
Yeah.
that I just call
I
and
call my
we like
sisters. I
laugh
always
about
call.
it because that's like my way of handling it. Yeah, exactly. Like my sister,
Yes.
she'll like, you know, go off
Yes,
on
my
the whole
older
thing,
sister's
and
the
like
same
she's more
way.
like the lion in the family, so she will do it like that. Yeah, but also, you know, raising, you're going to raise two girls. I'm raising two girls right now. It's like, especially with body shaming things, you look at what people are saying online, and it definitely makes you more aware of how you talk about yourself, and also like how
Yeah.
you view yourself and want your child to see you viewing yourself. You, I'm sure you also
Oh
have
yeah.
that
I mean,
kind of mindset now that you're going to have a second girl,
sometimes
but
some
already
of the
having your
comments are just
first.
like, when it comes to, you know, it has trickled down to even like my daughter and her appearance. And it just makes me, you know, really think about, you know, how I want to navigate the internet with my kids, right? And how I want them to consume the internet one day. But also, I really think that
Mhm.
the best way I can model healthy internet consumption is by modeling it, right? And how, like, I think it's not do as I say, but more so like as I do, right? So I think I'm so thankful for this period of my life where I can really understand how I'm consuming the internet and how I'm consuming these content comments and how I'm processing them, so that I can help equip my kids with the tools that they need to navigate the World Wide Web, because it can be scary, it can be daunting, it can define you if you let it. And I think that that's something that I really want to help avoid for them, because there was a period where as a grown adult it was defining me, you know, and I was just at, again, the mercy of these comments. And
Right.
now it's totally different. And um, I think that it's just, yeah, it's just been something that has been difficult to navigate. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think that it's definitely difficult, and obviously like we're kind of like the first wave
Yes,
of
that
people
was a good
going
point.
through
Yeah.
all of this. Our
They
parents didn't
have
have
that.
this to experience or deal with. So it's no, they didn't have that. They had it, you know, they have people's comments or feedback socially, but,
Yeah.
you know, or, you know, like at a preschool or a mommy group or, you know, things like that. But really, you know, having these, it's also like, it makes you just really think of, and for me at least, like look at people as like, it's so
Mm.
sad that someone would ever feel like it's okay to criticize like a child or, you know, anyone's appearance for that matter. It's none of anyone's business, but just to be like somebody, my mom always said to me growing up when people would say things that were unkind or just like flat out rude, she would always try to remind me and my
Yes.
siblings like that has nothing to do with you and everything to do with whatever pain that person is experiencing. And you talk a lot about that, which I think is amazing. You know, to put things into perspective, even though sometimes it is easier said than done to do that, because as you said, there are moments where you know, find yourself at night crying with your husband about what somebody said. And in those moments, what's your advice for people to kind of shift perspectives and not try and let those
Mm.
negative times, because, you know, obviously you experience it on a very big scale, and you know, people experience it on different levels. They could go to school and have somebody, another parent, say something mean to them, or on social media. But what are the tricks or tips that you implement in your life to kind of
Well, I
shift your
think,
perspective back to
well,
your
I really love
pockets
what
of
you said your
peace?
mom taught you. Something similar that I grew up with was what Susie says about Sally says a lot more about Susie than it does about Sally. And I remember growing up not getting it because I was, you know, young. And now I'm like, I
True.
totally get it. And I think we are always revealing ourselves in the words that we say. Everything that we say and put out into the world is just a reflection of ourselves. And so knowing that, bearing that in mind, what's coming out of somebody else's mouth or the words that they're typing, it's a reflection of them. I have to remember that. It's a reflection of maybe how they're feeling, what they're going through,
Mm-hmm.
what they need. You know, people tell us their needs through their words, right? And sometimes when someone is being really harsh on us, they just need love. They need compassion. They need consideration. Maybe they're
For sure.
constantly
Yeah.
having fingers pointed at them, and so then they go online and they're like, "Let me point a finger here." Who knows, right? But it's less to do with me and so much more to do with them. And that doesn't mean that I'm above criticism. I think criticism can be constructive and can be transformative. And I'm open to criticism that is well intended, right? So it doesn't mean that, but it means that things that can come off so harsh or so mean spirited, they're not for me, you know, and it's not for me. It's almost not even my business, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I try to foster a community online, and
Mm-hmm.
like that kind of reflects the energy that I want to put out into this world. And I also have learned to like kind of avoid comments a little bit more. I'll like read initially and then I'll like stop for a while because it's just a lot. But I think, you know, people that are
Yeah.
experiencing these things in real life, and in their real experiences like school or work or whatever that might be, I think that's where again the gratitude journal is so helpful, and pockets of peace is so helpful for me, and this idea of regrounding myself on what went right and who's there for me, who's supporting you, who breathes life into you. Go to them, like focus on them, give them your love and energy. I remember one time I was sitting with all the people that I love. We're sitting in a room and we're all hanging out, and I'm on my phone and I'm reading these mean comments, and here are these people who breathe life into me. They are my family, my support, and I'm not giving them my 100% because I am letting somebody tell me who I am. That ultimately I don't wake up and think about, right? If they're not a part of my primary
Mm-hmm.
like life. And that's when I realized I just put my phone down and I'm like, this is my community. These are the people whose opinions either lift me up or can lift me up and can give me support and encouragement. And then I had to then realize, what am I giving priority? What are you giving more power than it should have? You know? And so if you are watching this and someone is bullying you or treating you like they can shame you or they have any authority over telling you who you are, don't give them something that only you can determine, which is power, right? You can determine what weight somebody's words have in your life. And I think that's super important, and it's something that I remember in times of like really bad experiences. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. That's so helpful. And I think that will really be, you know,
Yeah.
such great advice to give to people on whatever level of, whatever level you're experiencing criticism or just like unwanted comments. That's always a really great way to kind of turn it
Oh my
around.
gosh, I think like
how
9
many
or
weeks
10.
do you have
Yeah,
left
it might be a
until
little early. We're not
baby two?
so close. Do you have any tips for me? I mean, I feel like you are the ultimate girl mom. I need some tips.
Oh my God. I was just gonna say to you, like, I don't know. I mean, I remember because it was so recently when you had your first daughter. It was like just like so recently. But is there any like anything that you're gonna do different leading up to the kind of delivery or what you're choosing to share, what you're choosing not to share in that process that you will do differently this time around?
It's different because I'm going in, with a kind of knowing a little bit more. I have a lot more understanding of informed consent. I have a lot more understanding of like what the process is like, what I actually need at the hospital versus what I thought I needed at the hospital, things like that. I have more of a smooth plan. Who knows if it's going to go as smooth as I had planned, but I'm taking it in stride. I'm trying not to overwhelm myself. I'm supposed to kind of keep it low profile this time around. My doctor's kind of on me to make sure I'm not stressed and I'm kind of going in there a little bit calmer and smoother. But in terms of like what I'm going to share or not share, I think I have a pretty healthy relationship with what I share. I love to share my daughter, but I don't like to share, things that could ever be considered like embarrassing or whatever the case may be. So I think that kind of rule of thumb is going to stay for baby number 2. But yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to see Amalia meet her sister. Like, what was that like for you?
It was crazy. It was something that I was really nervous about, and I was really anxious leading up to that moment, just because I had all those feelings ahead of having my second daughter of, did I give Lila enough time where it was just, her, or, was it too soon? And then I look at, I'm really close in age to my sister Christina, and I have my 2 younger brothers, and my siblings, like your family's very close. I'm so close to my siblings,
Right.
and there's such blessings in my life. And I don't
Oh
remember
my
my
gosh.
life without Christina because we're 19 months apart. And yeah, and so we did everything together, and it's such a, she's such a big part of my life. My relationship with her is such a big part of my life. And we had moments where we would argue or fight or over, whose hair clip was whose or those kinds of things. But we talk so many times a day. We do everything together. So she's, like my built-in best friend. And yeah, it is. It's like the best thing. And I'm, also crazy close to both of my brothers, but it's that moment when I brought Eloise home, because then, I didn't know if I was having a boy or girl. So when I found out I had a second girl and they're like, it's a girl, I was like, oh my God, it's going to be like another Catherine and Christina. Like, it's so exciting. And when I brought Lila home, my mom had saved the outfit that I wore when I met Christina. She saved it. So I put Lila in that outfit, and she was very conveniently obsessed with baby dolls, like right ahead of me having Eloise. So she came downstairs and I had Eloise in the little bassinet. And I think she originally thought that it was like a doll.
Oh my God.
But then she started
so
moving, and she was like just like so excited. Yeah, she was really, it was such an amazing thing to see. And my whole family, of course, came over and was like, are we like, what's it going to be like? Are they going to be exactly like Catherine and Christina were when they behaved, or are they going to be different? And so it was really cute. And she was already really obsessed with like, is she staying?
How old was
she staying?
Like,
because Lila's a little bit older than Amalia is. She was one and a half when I had Eloise. So Amalia is going to be a little bit younger for like what they're able to process, like, yeah. So you're definitely closer in age than I was, but I had like my 2 girl cousins were 11 months apart. At that point. And yeah, same year. I know my aunt. Yeah, I know, Irish twins, but it's, I mean, listen, the amazing thing is you know the family that you come from, you know who you are as a mom, and you know who you want to raise when it comes to your children, and also the amazing husband that you have. And I think that really says a lot about, you know, when people have comments about, because listen, there are so many people who have challenging relationships with their family members, really challenging dynamics in their homes and in their household. And I think, you know, for you and I, family is such a huge part of our lives, and also such a priority for us when it comes to relationships, and also how we want to raise our children with the belief of that being a priority for them. And we also have moms that we can ask pretty much everything. So, so that makes me like excited when I hear about people's challenging experiences. I look at, you know, I look at the support system that you and I are both blessed to have, and feel like, okay, you know, yes, there are challenging moments, and the girls will fight, they'll have their moments, and they'll argue about things. And it's all about, you know, raising them with a deep sense of love, faith, and family. And that kind of makes me excited and gets me, you know, out of those moments of being like, oh my gosh, that person had a comment to say or a thought about their experience, and focusing on, you know,
I agree.
our situations.
It's all about perspective. I think that's what it boils down to. I'm
So
so grateful you told me about you and your sister, because sometimes people tell me like very daunting stories, or like they'll have the like, just you wait, and those scare me. So I love when people tell me positive anecdotes of sisters growing up together. And you know, I have such large age distances between all of my siblings. We're not close in age. So I'm really excited to have two babies so close in age.
Yeah. It's like, it's going to be such a gift, and also teaches them, you know, so much about sharing, about, you know, like, you know, having girls that might have different interests. Like Christina and I have very different interests, but I totally get it. I had a mom bring her two daughters to my book signing a couple weeks ago, and she was like, these are my two daughters. They're really close in age, and they really don't like each other. And I was like, whoa. I was like, let's just talk about this. Like, let's talk like us girls, like what's going on. And it's of course that age where, you know, someone wears someone's t-shirt, and, you know, that causes a whole thing. So it's all normal. It's all, you know, just, I think again about knowing what a great mom you are, and that you know how you want to raise your kids, and also knowing that there are going to be moments where they fight, and then you're going to call your mom and be like, what did you do? How did you do this? How'd you handle this? So yeah, it'll be great. But I'm so grateful you took time to chat today. You look beautiful. I'm so excited for you, and I can't wait to hear how the birth is and how the whole experience is. And if you have any questions,
thank you so much for everything, for always including me. I'm so happy
loving you from here
today. Thank you. Talk to you soon.
Me too. Thank you.
Bye.
Sending you